details, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 1, analyzing the evolution of healthcare. Big story. Even in the COVID-19 crisis, the decisions that people have made about treatments have evolved, but the price of healthcare has skyrocketed compared to the good old days. With just the cough syrup and the doctor's house call visits. Big evolution we've made in healthcare and doctor visits. Futurism reports that doctors have now found ways to preserve human lungs by attaching them to live pigs. Big headline, big developing story. Story number 1 brings Americans to the real issue of healthcare and why there is a problem inside of the healthcare system. The number 1 question in this debate as we get close to the election is, how do you provide a needed service to every American on an equal basis that fits the patient's need without draining their pockets? That's why story number 1 made it in this week and why it's so important. Some officials do not agree with Trump's decision to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization. This could mean big changes unless the United States somehow can keep the relationship from souring. An absence at the table could mean a void for someone else to fill at the World Health Organization's meetings. So this is another big story, and that's why keep an eye on story number 1. Big headline. Story number 2 is the United States losing the war against COVID-19. Shopping malls are on the brink of collapsing due to COVID-19, along with other stores, brick and mortar stores as well. A CNN report says that the U.S. bases in Okinawa, Japan have also been hit hard by COVID-19. COVID-19, the fight continues. 82 kids and staffers test positive, causing a Missouri summer camp to shut down. Big story. Last week alone, the U.S. hit 3 million COVID-19 cases. That's a lot of people affected by COVID-19. There's a lot of fighting going on. Dipping and dodging. This disease has got to be defeated. Layoffs and jobless claims are all across the board as COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc on America. We may be losing this fight, but there's still a lot of more rounds left. The saga continues in story number 2, and that's why it made it to the top 8 this week. Story number 3, the PPP loans program worked out, but wasn't enough to save some small businesses. Projections are not looking good for businesses trying to recover even after they took out PPP loans. Goldman Sachs is now showing some grim numbers as we get closer and closer to August. The program was extended through August 8th. The major talking points in this story homes in on what economists have been doing to keep the economy alive. There are 3 sides to story number 3. You have the business viewpoint, because a business has to be open to create cash flow. Then you have the customer community viewpoint. Each needs each other to create jobs and maximize growth and innovation. Then there is the economic viewpoint. The country has to produce to be able to trade and do business with other surrounding nations while also providing jobs and good wages for its people. At the rate the United States is spending, no one knows how the nation's debt will be able to sustain the amount of spending that has been taking place. The government has to make money to be able to balance the budget and has to get a hold of spending soon. COVID-19 really has sent the United States into a downward spiral economically, and this is why story number 3 crept in this week. Another big headline is that one of the biggest talking points inside of this discussion was that the loan programs worked, but wealthy big businesses were approved the most, and these loans were mainly supposed to be used by small businesses, which are suffering the most. But because they're not as big as the other companies, they were denied some of these loans. And that's why story number 3 is so big, is because the wealthy big businesses benefited the most. Some of them took out millions and millions of dollars, while small businesses who don't have enough cash flow were left to suffer. But you could see a ripple effect in this, because CEOs who are wealthy they can't, if their businesses can't pay back these loans, they may let those businesses collapse while also losing jobs. So there's a lot going on in this, and the small businesses who didn't take out much won't have that much debt. So you're seeing a lot of different sides in story number 3, and that's why it's so important. That's why it made it to the top 8 this week. Story number 4. The outlook for college graduates may be taking a hit. CNBC says that a lot of college graduates are now depending on unemployment to pay their bills. The report goes in detail about how the outlook and big picture of attending college is changing. Most of the piece focuses on the current conditions that students and graduates are in now, rather than the past. So far, their future does not look certain, and this is why this report is so important and why it's at number 4. This is not good, because it could cause a huge gap in the future workforce and place unfulfilled voids in new businesses. And there's another talking point in this, because as Trump tries to create leverage in this debate, in the debate also brewing on whether it's safe to send students back to school, 17 states are set to sue the Trump administration for violating visa rules after he threatened to deport students that were not attending classes. They were set to attend online courses rather than school classes. So you can see why story number 4 has all the details and all the fine talking points to create a buzz and conversation and to keep this story alive. What is happening in the college arena with the college students and college graduates? Story number 4, big headline, big developing news story. Those are our top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. I won't waste too much of your time, but I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back with the top 4 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Some states may decide to shut down again. Scary stuff. As many states see a surge in new COVID-19 cases, states like California may go back into safe mode by shutting down again. The state has already decided to close indoor businesses statewide, along with some other states across the nation. COVID-19 is beaten up, but we got to stay in the fight. That's why story number 5 made it in this week. Story number 6 is COVID-19, just another sign that Mother Nature is fighting back. Makes you think. This story has been creeping in and out of some national headlines on how humans have been affecting the planet in many different ways over time. There is scientific data on how humans have been affecting the migration of some animals. Some experts are reporting that humans are causing most of the Earth's problems, and COVID-19 could just be another way Mother Nature is balancing things out. This story is still developing, but does make spectators wonder if this is really the case. That's why the story made it to the almost made it to the top 2 this week. Another headline: China is reporting some of the country's worst floods in decades. The number 1 question is, at the end of the day, are humans to blame for all of this, or is it just natural? Is it natural, or is nature really fighting back? That's a big question that many people are starting to wonder. That's why story number 6 made it in this week. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. I'm coming home, baby. The real reason China is on the radar. China has been in numerous headlines in the past few years. The country has been an economic powerhouse and has numerous business relationships throughout the United States. Even with China's clever business policies, U.S. businesses have still done business with China because they have mastered the duplication of U.S. business practices. But this is not because, but it's because of the relationship on why China is on the radar, because in the process, China has mastered the duplication of businesses that has done business with the United States, along with how business is conducted in the United States. So they've pretty much mimicked the same patterns, and they've seen results over the years. This is why this story is so important. This resulted in Trump's trade war strategy, if we take it back, which has blamed China, but has failed to address the companies that willingly chose to do business with the Chinese. So there's a lot going on in this, and there's also been brewing tensions inside of the communist country with democracy activists in Hong Kong and the fight for a more freedom-based government. China has also been expanding across the world, and also has caught, in the process, they caught the attention of U.S. intelligence with the building of its military bases in the South China Sea, which the U.S. claims to be illegal. And now with the spread of COVID-19 and the United States regrouping, this is how China got on the radar, and why this story is at number 7, because you can see why all this is happening. There's a ripple effect to everything. So can we blame the president for pointing this out or in taking action, or was this bound to happen? But most economists say, and most people who know what's going on in this relationship say, that these two countries cannot live without each other. So this is why story number 7 made it into the top 2 this week. Big headline that you may want to keep an eye on. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made it in this week. Trump's re-election's talking points. That means, how will he get reelected? Throughout Trump's entire 3 years, he has been tough on China. And with the actions on Huawei, a Chinese company, along with other Chinese tactics, some high-level officials do not like his aggressive strategy and do not think it's beneficial for the future of U.S.-China relations. So that's why the spotlight is on Trump's reelection, and if he will get reelected. Many feel that although different in many ways, that the two countries, China and the United States, still need each other. This could be critical in the re-election bid for Donald Trump. There are other downsides also. He has used military funds to fund a border wall between Mexico and the United States, but claims to be rebuilding the military. You'll see analysts jumping on this story as well. Many also feel that he has failed when it comes to leading the country through COVID-19, and there doesn't seem to be a strong enough candidate to face him in November. So this all ties into his re-election potential, and if he will get reelected. And some are pointing out a lot of weaknesses when it comes to his leadership style. But some see strength in his leadership style, and some don't see a strategy in the long run. So there's a big mountain to climb here in this administration. Trump's base has found every way possible to find talking points to counter the opposition. But in the current state that the United States is in, the reality is that this administration has been fighting from the corner the whole way through in the boxing ring. the big political arena, and it could get even dirtier as each side attempts to win the fight. And now that the United States is facing a grim economic forecast and escalating social issues, with COVID-19 becoming a real threat to the entire state of the U.S. economy, the truth is that there are new real issues being swept under the rug. With the emergence of social issues and everything else that comes along with leading a country through a crisis, there's a lot brewing, and that has been brewing for a long time. This story is still developing, and that's why it made it to the top this week, because it all ties into why or should or shouldn't Trump get reelected. Story number 8, big story, a lot of talking points, and that's why it made it to the top this week. Well, those are our top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of the program. And as usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator. I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you want to show us some support, all you have to do is visit our website, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. The website address should be on the screen. I want to thank you so much for tuning into the media this week. I'm going to take a break, come back next week, and do it all over again. Read through 200 or more stories to keep you informed. It's very, very important. So have a good week. Thank you for tuning into the media with me, Brian West. I'm out of here. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is